Things are getting more interesting and more complicated. I want us to have a look at a post shared out by Miguna Miguna about 1 hour ago as I speak. A post that is going to inform the basis of our analysis right now. Before we have a look at that post, let me say this. What goes around comes around. If you spread a bed, be ready to lie on that bed. In 2022, upon the Supreme Court declaring Raila Odinga's petition challenging the presidential election of 2022 null and void, hot air, wild goose chase, some Kenyans, including Miguna Miguna, did celebrate. They celebrated that verdict from the Supreme Court. Right now, as I talk, Miguna Miguna is now crying out foul that the Supreme Court is now compromised, that the court is in William Ruto's pockets. That's Miguna Miguna, the same person who did celebrate the verdict that declared Raila's petition wild goose chase. Does it mean that Miguna's just realized today or now that the Supreme Court is compromised? And what should those other Kenyans who also celebrated the court in 2022? Are they trying to tell Kenyans that they are now coming to terms with the reality that the verdict that was given by the Supreme Court in 2022 was null and void? Is that what they're trying to tell Kenyans? And if that is the case, have they learned their lessons? Have they learned their lessons? Let's have a look at the post by Miguna Miguna before we continue. Dr. Miguna Miguna shared as received. Good morning, comrade. Was talking to Professor Senior Counsel CYZ this morning. He tells me DCJ MWILU is controlling everything. She is literally walking into judges' chambers to intimidate them and telling them what RUTO wants. The notion of an independent judiciary is now a mockery. Circulate widely, expose, shame, and protest RUTO's tyranny. RUTO must go now. That's a post that has been shared out by Miguna Miguna about 1 hour ago. I want us to put that post into perspective for Kenyans to understand what it means and portends. If you are watching us but you have not yet subscribed, subscribe, give the video a like. Let's proceed. Is Miguna Miguna realizing now that the Supreme Court might be compromised? Not once, not twice, but on several occasions here, I've always maintained that if you look at our judiciary, the Supreme Court has been coming out as the weakest link. The lower courts have been coming out as much more independent than the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court, in its rulings, they are coming out as leaning towards the government side. That's what I've been explaining in this forum. It's good Miguna Miguna is also coming to terms with that reality now. But now the question can also beg, why now? I can't trust Miguna Miguna. Miguna must be castigating the court because Miguna has already looked at the bigger picture and he sees the court as not going to rule as per his expectations or as per the expectations of his allies. We know that there is currently an ongoing case on the impeachment of Rigathi Gachagua. And looking at things as they unfold, the case might eventually reach the Supreme Court. Miguna, having looked at the bigger picture, he understands that they don't have a chance in the Supreme Court. That's why he's now crying out foul. Miguna is just trying to look for his own personal interests. He did celebrate the Supreme Court, and even right now, I can't vote for Miguna Miguna's honesty. He wants a court that will be leaning towards his feelings and towards what he believes in. That's why Miguna Miguna is complaining. If you look at it objectively, the Supreme Court judges, the best thing they should do to Kenyans is for them to resign, because already Kenyans don't trust them. Personally, I don't trust the 7 judges of the Supreme Court. And I don't trust them basing my argument on how they ruled in 2022 presidential election and how they still continue giving out their rulings. Their rulings are coming out as favoring the government side. I still don't understand how 7 judges can all come up with the same ruling. Does it mean that there are no judges with contrary opinion in that Supreme Court? Most of their rulings are always in unison. They always come with the same ruling. No judge coming up with a contrary opinion. That shows something is not adding up in the Supreme Court. So it might be true, just as I've been saying all along in this forum, that the Supreme Court judges might be compromised. And now that chances of them being compromised are very high, that also spells doom for Rigathi Gachagua. Rigathi can buy his time as he so wishes, but eventually the Supreme Court will just confirm his impeachment. So Rigathi should also know that in advance. He made a very big blunder by not resigning in good time. He allowed the National Assembly and the Senate to impeach him. Eventually, his impeachment might end up at the Supreme Court. And when it lands there, it's somehow very clear that the Supreme Court will just confirm his impeachment. And again, that's something I've been explaining in this forum, that before William Ruto started the process of removing Rigathi Gachagua, he looked at his numbers in the National Assembly, his numbers in the Senate, and his standings in the courts. And Ruto got a positive feedback from all those arms of government. That's why he proceeded with the impeachment of Rigathi Gachagua. So Rigathi Gachagua might eventually be sent home an impeached deputy president. Yes, that's what is coming out very clearly. And from what Miguna is saying here, you can just tie the dots to understand the high-octane political games being played here. Miguna Miguna is currently a Rigathi Gachagua's staunch ally. And if you look at Miguna Miguna again, he keeps on flip-flopping. He doesn't have a very strong stand on issues. So he can't also be taken seriously. We can't tell whether he is honest or not. He might just be playing the usual political games being played by Kenyan politicians, where they change goalposts to suit their own personal interests. Let me stop it there. And even before I stop, If what Miguna is saying is true, then we can also understand why the Deputy Chief Justice Philomena Mwilu actually approved or constituted the three-judge bench. And I won't be wrong again to say that it might be the same Philomena Mwilu who will maybe again swear in Professor Kithure Kindiki. Let's meet in our next analysis. Thank you.